Albert Park, a place of laughter, sunshine, fun. During the day, families picnicked, kids slid down the slide, everyone smiled, but night came. The park transformed, shadows grew long, laughter died. An eerie silence fell. No one dared to enter after dark, not anymore. Albert Park held a secret, a chilling secret. The swings moved by themselves.
The swings, they move.
Joseph, the park's elderly watchman, knew nothing of the secret. One night he dozed in his small hut. A strange noise woke him, a creaking sound, rhythmic, like a swing in motion. He stepped outside, his heart pounded. The swings swayed back and forth, faster and faster, but no wind blew. No one pushed them. Joseph rubbed his eyes. He couldn't believe it. The swings were empty, yet they moved with an unnatural force.
The swings, they move.
Joseph stumbled back to his hut. His hands trembled. He had to tell someone. The next morning he found his friends Thomas and Emily at the local diner.
The swings, they move.
His friends exchanged worried glances. They knew Joseph wasn't the type to make up stories.
"We have to see this for ourselves,"
Thomas declared, his voice firm. Emily nodded in agreement. That night they would uncover the truth. As darkness descended, the three friends crept into the park. They hid behind a cluster of trees, their eyes fixed on the swings. Silence hung heavy in the air. Then it started, the creaking, slow at first, then gaining momentum. The swings began to move, higher and higher.
"Emily, look!"
Emily gasped. Thomas gripped her hand. Joseph's face was ashen. They weren't just swaying, they were swinging with a vengeance, as if propelled by an unseen force. Suddenly the air grew cold. The temperature plummeted unexpectedly, sending a shiver through the night park. The once warm and inviting atmosphere turned frigid, as if the very essence of the park had been drained away. The leaves rustled with an unnatural chill, and the silence was broken only by the sound of the wind howling through the trees. A whisper seemed to slither through the trees. It was faint at first, almost indistinguishable from the rustling leaves, but it grew louder, more insistent. The whisper carried with it a sense of foreboding, as if the trees themselves were trying to communicate a warning. The eerie sound seemed to come from all directions, making it impossible to pinpoint its source.
Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to ward off the cold, but it was no use. The chill seemed to penetrate her very bones, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. She glanced around nervously, her eyes darting from shadow to shadow, searching for the source of the whispering.
The whispering grew louder, morphing into a low growl. The sound was deep and guttural, like the growl of a wild animal. It reverberated through the park, sending vibrations through the ground and into Emily's feet. The growl seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, making it impossible to escape.
"We need to leave," Thomas whispered, his voice tight with fear. He grabbed Emily's hand, his grip firm and urgent. His eyes were wide with terror, and his breath came in short, panicked gasps. He could feel the growl vibrating through his chest, and he knew they had to get out of the park before it was too late.
But it was too late. The park, once a place of solace and peace, had transformed into a realm of shadows and fear. The darkness seemed to close in around them, suffocating and oppressive. The growl grew louder, more menacing, as if it were drawing closer with each passing second. The growl surrounded them, echoing through the park. It bounced off the trees and the playground equipment, creating a cacophony of sound that was both disorienting and terrifying. The echoes seemed to come from every direction, making it impossible to tell where the growl was coming from or how close it was.
A figure emerged from the darkness. It was tall and shadowy, its form indistinct and shrouded in mystery. The figure moved with a slow, deliberate grace, as if it were gliding rather than walking. Its presence was both mesmerizing and terrifying, drawing the eye and sending a jolt of fear through the heart. A childlike figure, barely visible in the moonlight. It stood motionless, its small frame outlined by the pale light of the moon. The figure's features were obscured by the shadows, but there was something undeniably eerie about its presence. It seemed out of place, like a ghost from another time. It stood by the swings, its eyes glowing an eerie green. The glow was unnatural, casting an otherworldly light on the surrounding area. The swings creaked softly in the breeze, adding to the sense of unease. The figure's glowing eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness, locking onto Emily and Thomas with an intensity that was both hypnotic and horrifying. They knew they had to escape, but the figure's gaze held them in place, paralyzed by fear.
The friends froze, their blood turning to ice. The figure pointed a skeletal finger at the swings.
The growl intensified, shaking the very ground beneath their feet.
Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the figure vanished. The growl faded into the night. The swings creaked to a halt.
Silence descended once more upon Albert Park, but the silence was heavy, pregnant with unseen terror.
A town haunted. Years passed. The story of the haunted swings became a local legend. Newcomers scoffed, but the townspeople knew better. They had learned to coexist with the unexplained. Every now and then, someone would dare to visit the park at night. They would return with tales of the swinging spectre, the chilling whispers, the unseen terror.
Albert Park remained a place of mystery, a chilling reminder that some things are best left undisturbed.
The unexplained remains. The unexplained remains. The eerie sight of swings moving on their own has puzzled many for years. No one knows why the swings move. Some say it's the wind, but on nights when the air is still, the swings continue their ghostly dance. Or who the ghostly figure was. Witnesses have reported seeing a shadowy figure lurking near the swings, vanishing as quickly as it appears. Some say it was the spirit of a child who died tragically in the park, forever seeking solace on the swings. The story goes that the child was playing alone one evening when a terrible accident occurred. Others believe the park itself is haunted. They speak of strange noises, whispers in the wind, and an overwhelming sense of dread that fills the air after sunset. A portal to another dimension, where the rules of the living world no longer apply. Some theorize that the park is a thin spot between our world and another, a place where spirits can cross over.
Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Albert Park holds a dark secret. A secret that has been whispered about for generations, passed down from one townsperson to another. A secret that continues to haunt the town and its people. The townsfolk avoid the park after dark, fearing what they might encounter.
Albert Park after dark. The swings creak in the silence, the shadows lengthen, and the air grows colder. It's a place where the past and present seem to collide, where the boundary between the living and the dead is blurred, the unexplained remains, and perhaps it always will. Albert Park after dark. So the next time you find yourself near Albert Park, remember the tale of the haunted swings. And if you're feeling brave, venture inside after dark. But be warned, you may not like what you find. The swings are waiting, and they may just swing for you. The question is, are you brave enough to face the darkness that resides within Albert Park?